Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Daily Dose. What is it, Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah, who can keep track? It's summer, it was the long weekend, it throws everything off. We're talking today about an article that I came across in Medium that shared with Dr. Mary called How to Go Alcohol Free in a World Obsessed with Drinking. And I have a story from last night to share around it, but do you want to introduce anything from it, Dr. Mary?
No, you tell your story. That's a good introduction.
Oh, okay. So I met someone last night for wine. I wrote to her and said, could we meet for wine? So, I started the conversation. And actually, the only place that I'm really talking about giving up drinking wine is on Daily Dose and with you. So, my social circle doesn't really know that I'm kind of trying to quit drinking altogether. Although everyone in my social circle also knows I don't drink that much. But anyway, so we met for wine, and she's just a faster drinker than I am. That I'm not passing any judgment on her at all. She just drinks wine faster than I do. So she ordered a second glass, and with no prompting or judgment from her, I felt like, well, this will be weird if I don't also order a second glass. So I ordered a second glass. And then I paid for it all night long. Because one thing that happens to me if I drink too much wine, which for me 2 glasses is too much, on an empty tummy and all of that, is then in the middle of the night I am 4,000 degrees and I wake up and I can't go back to sleep. And let's be medically clear, of course I am at the age of premenopause, menopause, all those things, so that could be some of it as well. But I just laid awake in bed last night and mostly looked over at you in your long sleeve jammy shirt and your jammy pants with the blankies up to here and thought, that's making me even hotter just thinking about how many clothes he has on.
Makes sense.
Warmer. I was warmer.
I'm taking that as a compliment.
As you should. So, it was just a funny, stupid night because what I should have done, I could certainly have had a glass of wine, but I should not have had that second glass. I knew I shouldn't have it as I was having it. It's not like the person I was with said to me, drink the wine, drink it, just drink it. She wouldn't have cared if I had had no wine, much less a second glass of wine. So that's my story around this woman's article. So what do you want to say, Dr. Mary?
Well, she has 6 mindset shifts to help us stay in the zone of, deciding not to drink if you don't want to. I mean, this is just someone who decided to cut down on the drink, and it's clearly it's different than actually,
Being a full-blown alcoholic.
Being an alcoholic.
Yes.
But, and it's true, and I hate to say this, I don't want to be one of those people that sounds like, oh, I've quit drinking, everyone should. If you can manage it, there is nothing wrong with having a drink if you can enjoy it and it doesn't affect your life. That is absolutely true. I love hanging out with people who, drink to enjoy themselves. And I don't feel bad. I think it's actually, when we were going to see the counsellor and he told me that I was lucky because I was a late onset alcoholic. Because I had a large part of my life to look back on and go, well, I did all that when I wasn't an alcoholic. Your friends are older too. So all of our friends who I never lost, so they're still our friends, they're, oh my God, Maz is an alcoholic, you can't drink. And they're fantastic. One set of friends of ours actually keep non-alcoholic beer in their fridge for me. It's brilliant. They've always got something fun that's non-alcoholic for me to drink if I don't want a beer as well. It's.
Well, and let me just say this, because they have a history of being, this sounds so judgmental, comfortably high drinkers. They host a lot of dinner parties, they do those kinds of things, and a lot of alcohol is consumed. But the other night we went over there and we brought the Earl Grey tonic drink.
Oh, yes.
And that's all we drank. And it was great. And it didn't change the nature of our evening because they don't drink to excess, and not having alcohol didn't matter. So it was a really fun night and one of those perfect reminders that just because you have a history of adding wine to a casual evening with friends or to a dinner party or whatever, you can easily set that aside and the experience will be as good or better depending on how people can manage their alcohol. So that was lovely.
This all actually reminds me. Years ago, I read a report. Stanford University does some dodgy stuff with their undergrad students. I tell you.
What does that mean?
They do all these. The psychology department does all these weird studies.
Oh.
So they got they got a bunch of students, and they had a student party, and they gave them all non-alcoholic drinks, but didn't tell them, and they got as rowdy as they would have done if they'd been drinking, because they were just actually.
Well, it's the placebo effect.
They were just happy.
Yeah.
They actually just enjoyed themselves, and their inner kid came out. And
did they think they were drinking
they
alcohol?
actually all thought they were drinking alcohol.
So they also
they were doing
had the freedom.
shots of non-alcoholic. They got stuff to taste like what it should have done, but it was no alcohol, and they were drinking shots and everything.
But that speaks, I think, both positively, but also negatively to the idea of, excuse me, the pressure to drink excessively, whoop it up as a college student. So that's an interesting, both good and bad study.
So these 6 points, one of them, it's I had to read the first thing a couple of times before.
Well, you're not very bright, Dr. Mary.
It hurts so much more to stay stuck than to grow. And I thought, well, isn't that the wrong way round? But it actually means that if you continue to just drink and have hangovers, that hurts more than if you decide, some nights I'm just not going to drink. Or I'm going to drink less. And think, it's a school night, I'll just take it easy. That's the first step. Everything you want is outside your comfort zone. What did you think of that when you first read that one, Mother?
It made me think of the blog post I wrote about the ouch zone. So this idea of it's more comfortable to stay in your uncomfortable environment than to test what it looks like outside of it. And you're a perfect example of that. And I believe most addicts are. Most people, I think, would like to not be alcoholics or addicted to whatever the fill in the blank is. But the idea of stepping outside and trying not to be is scarier, is more uncomfortable, has more perceived pitfalls than to just stay where you are. It goes to your whole notion of, I knew I'd given up something good, I'd lost something good, I knew that I had made a bad decision that had gone from bad to worse, and I felt like I didn't even have the right to try to step outside of that, so I'll just stay here and die. And that's obviously the extreme example of this. But I thought it was a really compelling way to think about it. If you know that if let's go back to me. If I know that I'm not going to sleep because I've had 2 glasses of wine, why in the world would I choose to stay in that uncomfortable circle when I could just step out and have said, can we get another Chardonnay and I'll have a soda water, I'll have this non-alcoholic drink. There were 14 options I could have had, but it felt more uncomfortable to do that than to put myself in an environment where I knew I was going to pay for it later. It's stupid.
I want to read the next one and then go back to that one. The third one is get proud about being an independent thinker, which, it even says let your inner rebel take over and just say, you know what, I don't want to drink, and stick to it and be proud of it. And I want to go back to the second one because I again, lucky, maybe a late onset alcoholic, but more mature friends. I know loads of people who we talk at AA meetings and they say, well, I can't go out with my friends because they literally pressure me and force me to drink with them. Mm-hmm. Because they say, I'll have a drink, we'll make sure you don't drink too much. And if you're trying to get someone who's trying to get their brain to work and get everything back to a level state and to actually help themselves by being comfortable, the fact that you can't drink because you are actually an alcoholic, that is a terrible position to be in. So get proud about thinking like an independent thinker. That's the cornerstone. If you can do that, you can achieve anything.
I think
And that's just not for drinking. That's actually
it's true. It's true.
I just want to go off on a tangent here. Someone reminded me on Saturday in my AA meeting the 12 promises to Alcohol Anonymous. And it's absolutely true. He said, the first one is the only one that says don't drink. The other 11 are great advice for everybody.
Well, it's why we did them
Yeah.
as a segment last summer. And maybe we'll go back and put together sort of a long mashup of those 12 because they were incredibly interesting from just a how do you go through the world as a human being perspective. I want to just quickly say, Betsy Birmingham, who was our guest on New Year's Eve, I've known Betsy longer than I've known Maz. And we were at a dinner party at their house. Might even have been before I knew you. Quinn and I were there. And it was a faculty graduate student dinner party. And there was some kind of weird pressure from some of the older faculty to drink. And I just remember Betsy saying to me, and I mean, this was before, if I didn't know Maz, I had no alcohol in my life at this point. I remember Betsy saying to me, it's only people who are either consciously or unconsciously uncomfortable with their own level of drinking who push drinking on other people because it makes them uncomfortable if they're getting out of control, if people around them are not. And I've
Wow.
never forgotten that because I had never heard that idea. And of course, Betsy had been, by that point, already, 20 years sober. So she had a long history of understanding it in ways that I certainly did not, but I have never, ever forgotten that.
That's actually this.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The next one, fitting in is so high school. Peer pressure, basically.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a really weird thing. We tell our children not to give in to peer pressure, and yet as adults, we often do. And just as a little bit unrelated side note, we also use peer pressure in weird ways. So you tell your children, don't give in to drinking if your friends are doing it. But if they've got friends who are high achieving, we might say, well, don't you want to be like so-and-so? Look at how accomplished she is. Look at how responsible he is. We use it in really weird, manipulative ways. So that's just something for us to all consider.
Find a new sphere. Seek out people. I mean, don't turn your back on your friends if you can see them.
Unless
Unless
they're very negative in your life,
Well,
and then you have to.
Then they're technically not friends.
Well, that's true.
You could always think about the definition of what a friend is.
Yes, if they're not supportive of you, they're not technically your friends.
You have to then move on. Find yourself get healthier relationships.
Yep.
But it's absolutely true. Again, this is advice for everyone. If you actually sit down and think about it, there's always someone that leads you astray. There's people that lead you. There's a difference between leading someone to a little bit of mischief if you also know when to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how great friendships form. But you can have negative friendships, and I think the point of that is understand your negative friendships, and if you want a healthier life and a happier life, those are the ones that you have to move away from.
Yes. All right, what do we have? About a minute and a half, Dr. Mary.
The whole thing is so much bigger than you. You may be nervous about what you're trying to say at an upcoming party, but just own it. I think, just say no, I don't drink. Leave it at that. If they want to ask, they can ask. Personally, I think it's no one else's business.
Well, think about last week's guest Thursday. Shannon Roars-Jones talked about the first night she went to dinner with her extended family, and all she said was no thank you. And nobody batted an eye. They initially asked if she was pregnant, but nobody grilled her after that or pressured her or put any thought into it. She said no, they moved on. That's the end of that. So I think often about the events that I throw at the Arts Partnership where alcohol is always served, and where I will say, in almost 11 years of working there, we've never had anybody drink to excess at those events. So they're not that kind of event. But I almost never drink at them because it's just lots of reasons. It's not appropriate. I don't need to be drinking there, this, that, and the other. I've never had a donor or anybody say to me, why aren't you drinking? Ever. Nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about you. What else?
This, I know we're running out of time, but this ends with a startling statistic. There you go, a bit of alliteration first thing in the morning. According to this study that was done here, that this author put at the end of the article, 52% of Americans actually want to drink less. Maybe you could be the one of them that at a party that they latch onto you, and you could be the voice of reason. Just like, you know what, I just don't fancy. You know, it's not like you're even if you're not concerned about alcohol and you didn't fancy drinking, just say, hey, I'm good.
I think I told you I had a meeting recently with a donor, and we met for wine and cheese, and we ended up having water, Diet Coke, and cheese, because she said to me, I don't really want to drink tonight, which was all I needed to say. Me neither. If she'd ordered wine, I would have ordered wine, because apparently, for as firm in my convictions as I am, I'm actually just a wilty sheep. So this is something for me to think about.
Very, very rarely.
Yeah, but still enough that it's stupid. So figure out where you can, you know, stand into any of these, and if you want to. If you don't want to, if you're totally comfortable with your drinking, good for you. I'm not uncomfortable with my drinking. I just don't like how I feel if I do it.
And
so
I need to end this as with an apology and a disclaimer, if that's the correct term. What was her name? Brenda Topley used to drive me crazy. She was
Mrs. Topley,
Mrs.
the ouch
Topley.
zone teacher.
She was the out zone teacher, talking about Quinn reaching his out zone zone in math. There's an ouch zone for all of us, and it must work because she was right. Quinn Del Valle is a mathematical genius. One of his degrees was in math.
Can you imagine I produced a child, and if you met his dad, you would look at the two of us and go, him? I mean Quinn, not his dad. His dad is an art major, I have a theater degree, and we produced a math whiz. Thank you very much for nature and nurture, Dr. Mary.
So yeah, be the ouch zone yourself. It apparently works.
Absolutely. Okay, have a great day. We're back tomorrow with a fun guest, but we're just going to continue to not announce those in the interest of not having to go back and fix it when things fall through. So we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.